Hey, new stream. We got a bit excited outside.
We did. We were having lots of fun, and that's such a shame because we were having lots of fun out there. We were identifying lots of plants, and actually, we got a few extra people on the live stream. I'm hoping people will come back to this one. I'm sure people will watch us through the night. It's nice to just have on in the background, even if you're sleeping, isn't it?
Yeah.
People talking. It's nice and relaxing, and it makes you feel connected to other people, which is, part of the reason that I like to have sometimes things on in the background. Even when I'm working, I'll have things on. It's just, like I say, it's just nice and it makes you feel connected. And we were having lots of fun out there looking at the nature, but I think from now on, we're going to be staying inside. We are still going to go over to cook. We are going to try again as well at midnight to go over to the main hall, and we are going to try and do the kind of spooky experiment to see whether or not we can capture what Mr. Jordan captured at midnight last time. We are going to still try and make banana bread, and then, sir, I think you're going to try and cook us something up as well, aren't you?
I'm going to do a little bit of that cooking as well, because cooking is science. Just hoping that Mr. Bradley is going to help us to maybe put this new link onto everything, relink it. Before we do anything, sir, I'm going to just pop this new link onto the GoFundMe page.
Fabulous.
If that's okay.
No worries, I can see what's after Sundars anyway. So that gets me pretty excited for what's going next. So let's have a look. Where are we after Sundars? Oh, we're going to Upper Key Stage 2. And actually, we are going to go into space. And actually, I don't want to go into that yet, because I want to save space for later. Space is one of the exciting topics that we are going to look at. So I want to save that for now, and I want to do that when we get back from the cooking. Okay, so we'll go and do the cooking, and then I will go into the space topic. What I will do is, just for a little bit, whilst we are waiting for those links to be updated, and while we're waiting just to get over to the kitchen so that we can start cooking. How many viewers have we got on this stream now, sir?
Hold on a second. I think people are starting to find their way back in. We're up to 8, but it's a shame because we were
really nice,
at 25 or so earlier.
It is nice that people, you're finding your way back to it, and this may have to be broken down into lots of little streams, which is unfortunate. We did want it to be the main 3, but technical issues can't be helped. We are still here. We are still teaching, as we have been since 9 a.m. this morning. And actually, sir, we are now at 9:16, so we have taught for over half a day. We taught for just over 12 straight, which is not an achievement.
Bad going, not bad going.
I'm going to read us a little text about gravity whilst Sir is setting up all the links and communicating with Mr. Bradley, who's been fantastic to get all of those donation links back up. And we're actually, I believe, sir, at 2020 now, aren't we? £4 more, and we'll be at 2024. So if you can donate those £4, please add them on to the Just Giving side. But we're going to have a little read about the science of gravity. Okay, here we go. Science world, the science of gravity. What is gravity? Gravity is an invisible force that pulls any two objects. It pulls us down towards our planet. And we learned that, didn't we, earlier when the year 5 visited us with the parachutes, that gravity is a force that pulls downwards. And it holds us there. Now, we can't see it. We can see its effects. Why don't we always feel the pulling force of gravity then? Well, usually the force is too weak to feel. But it gets stronger the more massive something is. So, what's massive and very close to you? It's the planet we live on, planet Earth. That's why you can feel the pull between you and the Earth. Only the Earth is massive enough to have a force of gravity you can feel. Now, if you were on another planet, or even if you're on the moon, you could feel the pull of that object, the pull of the gravity from that. On the moon, the gravity would be different, of course, so you could jump higher and you could pick up heavier objects. You would seem like you would have superhuman strength. A bit like Superman, because his gravity doesn't our gravity doesn't really affect him. I don't think we could fly around at will, though. The strength of gravity's pull. How strong is the pull of gravity in these pictures? Is it weak or is it strong? Clue. Look at the mass of the objects. There is a strong pull of gravity between the balls and the ground. That's because of the mass of the ball. There is a strong pull of gravity between the castle and the ground. That's because of the mass of the castle. The pull of gravity between these two people is weak. That's because they are smaller in mass.
Could we make a serious comment to the children at all the different schools that are joining in? It's really nice, but you must not put your name on. And what will happen, and we don't want to do this, is we'll have to shut down the live chat. It's like vital, really, that we don't identify our names, and that's kind of basic internet safety. I'm seeing quite a few names. I've also just seen like a location, and all these sort of things need to just not be present.
And we removed those.
Well, it's all gone. It was on a previous one, luckily. So we just need to be very, very clear that we are not identifying ourselves in any way. We know it's a silly thing to do.
It is, and it is worrying actually, because if you're doing that in the live chat on here, it worries us that you would be putting that information just out online anyway. So
it's basic.
It just absolutely do not put. We won't turn the chat off. We'll remove that.
We'll remove.
We'll have to remove.
Well, at some point, I might have to remove the chat. I'm honest.
When you throw a ball into the air, the force of gravity pulls it down and towards the ground. Sir Isaac Newton and gravity, and we'll learn more about Sir Isaac Newton after night. Sir Isaac Newton was a famous scientist who lived 300 years ago. There is a story that says he saw an apple fall from a tree, and it started him thinking, why does everything fall downwards? It's as if there is a force pulling everything towards the center of the earth. The pulling force he thought about is called gravity. He thought that everything that had mass was attracted to everything else. Any two objects have a force of gravity between them. You and everything around you is affected by gravity. Objects that are massive have more gravity between them than less massive objects. The Earth is so massive that it pulls everything downwards. It's just as well. Without gravity, you would float off into space. Some fairies are huge. They are nowhere near as massive as the Earth, but when two fairies are docked next to each other, they are pulled together by the force of gravity between them. How are we doing with those links?
I think some people they're getting better, but they're trying to be nice and introduce themselves, and I get that.
Oh, I understand that too.
But we just don't do that online.
Not online, absolutely. What about the links to the Just Giving and everything?
That should be back up. I think if you're up for it, we should try our thing. Are you ready to do that?
I think, it's probably best to do that now, because if we have another crash,
I'll tell you what I'll do then. Let me set up a second stream just in case.
Yeah. I'll read another couple of pages. If we do have a crash, we'll move to the stream, and then we'll know that we can't really move out of this spot, which means that we'll have to base most of what we do for the rest of the night in here.
Which would be a shame.
Which would be a shame, because I really do want to do that ghost hunt.
I want to do that ghost hunt.
So we'll see, and hopefully we can do that actually at midnight. That would be quite interesting as well.
I'm still going to turn the stream over at 3:00. I think that's what we're going to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Moving objects without touching. There are other invisible forces like gravity. Magnetism is an invisible force. Magnets can pull objects without touching them. Magnets pull objects made of iron and steel, and some other metals. Sometimes magnets can pull other magnets towards them. Sometimes they can push other magnets away from them. Magnets can work through other materials. You can move paper clips around with a magnet under the table. A strong magnet will even pull through your hand and will work through air and water. The force of magnetism has pulled these metal paper clips onto a magnet. How does gravity compare with magnetism? Well, let's have a look at the comparison between the two. Can it pull objects together? Gravity, yes. Magnetism, yes. Can it push objects apart? Gravity cannot. But magnetism can repel. Is it invisible? Yes, gravity is invisible, and so is magnetism. Will it work with any two objects? Gravity, yes. Magnet, and we saw this earlier, no. It needs to be specific types of metal. Not just metal, specific types of metal, and not as many types of metal as you might think. In some ways, gravity is like magnetism. It is also invisible, and it works without it. Even if you are flying in an aeroplane or swimming in the sea, gravity is still pulling you down. You can create a chain by above a part of paper. Soon, you'll have a chain. Are we good to go?
So we are now good to go. All I'm going to do is just put the 15th instead of the 14th, which was my mistake. So the next stream is actually going to start on the 15th. How crazy is that?
Oh, yeah. I can't believe it. Never gone. In fact,
so what's the exciting thing to happen now is that we are, it's worked, good, that we are going to go and do a little bit of
cooking.
home science. I always feel sounds a little bit derogatory, but it is science that can be done in the home, isn't it?
Absolutely. And in fact, a lot of the experiments that we've done today can be done in the home.
I think we've only so far done, apart from the heart maybe.
I mean,
It could be done in the home, but I think the thing I would worry about is the sharp scalpels and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
that
also,
would certainly need to be with an adult.
it is worth rewatching, definitely. But everything can be done at home, can't it?
Yeah.
That's the fun thing about science. Right, so are you ready for this?
I think I am.
One thing I'd like to say is I'm going to prepare you guys because we're moving to a whole new space. We are concerned that something might happen, like we lose the stream, but let's just hope that doesn't happen. So everything's looking good so far.
How many viewers are we back up to, sir?
We're back up to 29.
Wow, that is incredible. 29
So
viewers.
basically got an entire class.
That is fabulous.
Everything is set up. I'm going to have to ban this person here. I don't know why they would be doing something like this for 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably
gone. For the best. That's really, really nice. And we're going to.
Let's do it. Now, I left all of the cooking ingredients outside, so I'm hoping a fox hasn't come along.
Let's hope a
and
fox.
Taken it. Actually, interesting little fact for you. If you ever want to find out if you've got a fox in your garden, sir. Now, we have lots of foxes in our gardens, and they make the most terrible sounds, I must say.
Oh,
but if you've just got one, if you've just got one fox in your garden, if you want to check if there is a fox that is visiting your garden, the best thing to do is to put out a whole egg. Because the fox is the only animal, I believe, this might need fact checking, sir, but I believe the fox is the only animal that can take that egg whole without cracking it.
Well, if that's true, that's absolutely fascinating.
I absolutely agree with you.
How
are you feeling, sir, after 12 hours of solid teaching?
I felt worse about 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
I feel not as bad as it was. I think that's kind of what I just said. So I'm repeating myself.
That's good.
Which is always a good sign. I'm going to fiddle these around here.
That
looks okay, doesn't it? Now, I want everybody in the chat, can you be really clear to us? Because if you tell us immediately when the video goes down, we're probably able to go back to wherever we were and get it going again.
Absolutely.
So we're taking a risk.
We're going to try and get inside the building, and we are going to try one more time to see if we can keep this live stream.
So I'm just keeping very careful check on our connection. It does seem to be consistent, and we're not losing anything.
So, do you remember where I placed? I believe I placed the.
I think you placed it this way, actually.
You're right. It's over there. Did you just hear a voice, sir?
It's too early for me to be concerned about voices. I think that the community is still quite active right now. I'm not worried. Look at that. There's I don't know if you can zoom in on that. So you can say frisbee on the roof. Yay, cooking, it's time. Oh yeah, no, it's fine. Right. So we're trying to go now, so we're really going to do this slowly, aren't we, this time?
Okay.
So we're going to go into the building. You've got your fob again, haven't you? Because I haven't got my fob.
Yeah.
I need to make sure I've got my fob on me. Just checking everything's still running. If that chat can stay positive, don't forget to keep that thumbs up because we've got 29 people here, but only 4 thumbs up. And the more thumbs up we get, the closer we might be to getting Elon Musk to donate to us.
Donated yet, please have a look at the just giving link below, and let's try and get to that 3,000 because then Mr. Jordan will eat a Scotch bonnet chili, and whilst having a burning mouth, he will tell you the science of why his mouth is burning.
Yeah,
and why he is crying.
Now, it looks like everything is okay. Mr. Beast could donate if you want to.
Yeah,
Mr.
please,
Beast.
Mr. Beast.
Get that
Well,
in.
really, we want Elon Musk.
Yeah, very good. Everything's so far.
It's starting to get, I don't know about how you feel. It's starting to get a little.
Starting to get a little bit creepy and dark in here.
Yeah.
Did just lose a large number of people. Can you just check that it is still working? Everything's okay, yes? Everything's okay. Could you not mention names on the chat? Please delete any names on the chat. It's very dark down here. Do you want me to turn a little light on, sir?
Yeah.
I'm going to pop this. There we go.
Oh, that's spooky, isn't it?
Look at that. Just checking with the chat that everything's still working, please. Yes, you are still on. Good. Oh, Mrs. Penn, if you could keep us updated as much as possible right now, because I'm a bit concerned. Moving very slowly, trying not to disturb. It's getting laggy. It's getting blurry. Okay. Let's just see. And choppy. Don't put names. But we're still going. Okay. I'm saying it's starting to get a little bit on the. So, still with you. Good. Good. Right. I tell you what. I'm going to base this here because that seems to have connection still. And then I'm going to move. You're slowing down more.
Right.
Let's want to.
The school internet absolutely doesn't work very well, even with nobody else.
The trouble is, if we move from room to room, we go from one Wi-Fi to another Wi-Fi, and in that process, you disconnect.
So straight.
You're clear now. Excellent. We're clear now. And do you know what I've realised, sir? We should have brought the stand.
Yes, because we have.
Do you think I should run back and just get the stands?
If you can prop that up in some way where you can see me for now, and I can start talking through what we're going to do, which is to make a banana, then yes, but I think we also need to start finding things that I can use to start cooking as well.
Work something out here, so. Right, what have we got?
Right, I'm just going to start finding things that we can use to create what we need to create. When you do go back, sir, to get the stuff,
Might or might not need it, to be honest.
well, I need butter. I've left my butter, I'm afraid.
Oh dear, sorry. Sorry. We fell a little bit. I'm going to put the microphone, sir, up here.
I'm pretty sure some of these plates are
Everything's looking okay.
great. That's great to hear. We don't have a mixing bowl, so we might need to improvise that.
Gonna watch until we sleep. That's very kind.
Wonderful.
Not shutting down. Very good.
I don't
That's
know
all right.
what to use as an impromptu mixing bowl.
Just checking that everything's okay over here. We definitely just have a little chat on the chat. So I've got a tub, even though it's not ideal, it's a mixing bowl, and we've got them all these, have you? There's some sugar in there.
Yeah, that's got some very old flour in it. Might be washing out all of that. Mix.
Right, well, it's quite exciting because, as we said, this is definitely a science. We've got all sorts of amazing ingredients here whilst I'm having a little look around. We've got some ingredients that I spotted earlier on in the video. We used this. If you go back to part 1 at the very, very beginning, this is our baking soda. I'm just going to quickly check that chat is still alive. The video is still running. Saucepan. Yeah, Miss Penn is saying we can use a saucepan for mixing. She's probably right.
I mean, this is clean and it's empty now.
Clean,
What we do need is we need scales if possible. So that's scales, and that'll probably be with the maths equipment, I'm guessing, if we don't have any scales in the kitchen. Scales. Do we have any scales?
No, it's not a scale. I'm gonna go hunt for some scales.
Okay, fabulous. So I also need butter, and I believe I've left butter back in the.
Got a badge?
Yes, I've got the badge here. While you're going to look for that, we'll have a little chat about what the recipe is. And I'm going to bring that up. Now I've got a perfect banana bread recipe. It's not mine. It's actually the BBC's, who've helped us a lot today, actually, by showing our stream. So I'm going to just get up the BBC recipe on my phone for the banana bread, and then we're going to start making it. Now, this is the same as the BBC Good Food website, and it's this banana bread recipe. So this is a really good recipe. Now, what you'll notice with recipes, just like with brain's not working. Apologies, it's because we've been teaching for so long. Just like with scientific write-ups, when we look at recipes, it's broken down into familiar headings. So, for example, there isn't really a prediction when it comes to a food recipe. However, there is usually a picture, and that in a way is kind of showing you what it should look like. So that very loosely is a prediction saying that this is what your banana bread should turn out like if you follow this recipe. So that's kind of related. The second is that it will give you a set of instructions for the ingredients. It will tell you what ingredients you need, and it will tell you how much you need. And when you do a scientific write-up like we did earlier today, and like we're going to do a little bit later when we get back into the solid science lessons, did we find scales, sir? Oh, look at that. Wonderful. We've got the scales here. We'll see if those work. I'm sure they will be absolutely fabulous. It's willow butter that I brought, sir. It's in a little gold packet. It might be in the fridge, I'm not sure. So those work absolutely fine. So we will be able to measure our ingredients. So, as I was saying, like with science, it gives you an equipment list. Now, it doesn't tell you exactly what to get, necessarily like the scales or like the bowl or that kind of thing. But what it does tell you is what ingredients you need, how many of those ingredients, and the weights of those ingredients. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wash this out, because with it being school scales, we don't know exactly what was used in this last time. So I'm going to put a little bit of soapy water in this and just make sure it's clean. So I'm going to do that first. I'm also going to make sure my hands are clean, because we've been out in the garden looking at the plants. So I'm going to wash those at the same time that I'm washing out this bowl. Ooh, that water gets hot quick. Fascinating stuff, right? And if you watched the Teach-A-Thon last time, you should have known that at this time, Mr. Keeling would probably be making banana bread, and that is what you'd be watching. Just coming around, I'm going to check the chat, see how everything's going over there. Hi, BBC Good Food Recipes. This is my brother. Yo, Elon must join the stream. Yeah, absolutely. I'm back. Woo, me, spam. Right, to here. We are going to remove that. We don't want spam on the chat, and you've been given your warning, so that is not what we want. Okay, and please do not put your names into the chat as mentioned, otherwise it will be removed, and the ability to post will be removed as well. Still, we've got 23 viewers. That's really good. 23 people tuning in to watch a banana bread. Wonderful. Which we will continue to make. Now, so, as I was saying, let's pop it on nice and clean, lovely. As I was saying, a cooking recipe is very much like a scientific writing. It also does involve direct science, because what we're doing is we're taking these ingredients, we are causing a chemical and irreversible change. So when we put all of these ingredients together, there is no taking them apart again. Right, let's have a look at what we are doing. Well, we are going to have 140 grams of butter. That's the first one on the ingredients list. That's not what we've got at the moment. We are going to add 140 grams of caster sugar. So we've got the caster sugar there. We need that. If you want to cook along at home, make sure you've got adult supervision, and maybe not at 9:40 at night. The next thing we need is 2 large eggs. I bought 3 just in case we make a mistake, but there are 2 eggs there. Those need to be beaten, so we need to mix those up. So I'll need to find another smaller bowl to do those in. Then I need 140 grams of self-raising flour. I've got more than 140 grams of self-raising flour there, and we will use that when we're making our banana bread. We need 1 teaspoon. So I'll have to get a teaspoon. Let's see if we can find a teaspoon. Oh, those drawers are fake. Look at that. Did you ever know that, Charlie? Your teacher's staff room has fake drawers. How about that? There we go, teaspoon. So here's our teaspoon. I'll be using that to measure a little bit later on. And I'm going to be teaspooning. I'm going to be measuring. Let's check which one of these is in date. One is for science, one is for eating. This one is in date, so that one is for eating. We will be measuring that out with a teaspoon later. We want 2 very ripe bananas. Now, these are the ripest bananas that I could find, and I bought these yesterday from the supermarket. I think it's really nice that supermarkets now have started putting in what they used to call wonky fruit, so fruit that was a little bit damaged or a little bit old, or fruit that people wouldn't really usually buy. Because when they don't, a lot of that food goes to waste. And a lot of people might be a little upset that their vegetables aren't quite as fresh as they used to be, but I think it's a really good thing that we are putting these later life and wonky vegetables into supermarkets, because it means that there is less waste. Now, it also wanted dried banana chips and icing sugar, but that was for the topping. This is for the base cake, and that's what we're going to go with. So we're now going to look at how to do it. And this is, again, where the recipe is very much like a scientific experiment. And why is it like a scientific experiment? It's because it has a method. And that's exactly the same word that we use when we write how to do a scientific experiment. It also uses imperative language, just like when we write a scientific experiment, and it's also numbered or bullet pointed each step. So step 1 is to heat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, which I'm going to do now. The oven is over here. I don't know if you can see me over here. Let me just check the camera. Oh, you can't quite see the oven. I'm also going to check the chat again to see what's going on in the chat, see what comments we've had about the banana bread making. Yep, no. 3L. Delete your name. Cool. Writing random. Where's Mr. Jordan? Mr. Jordan is just trying to find butter at the moment. Stop asking, you're going to get banned. Don't say names. I'm back. I like the curriculum links. Spot on. We know what's happening. Hello, Mr. Keeling.
I've got no idea where your butter is.
You have no idea where my butter is? I don't know.
What? It's not this, is it?
No, it's not.
What does it look like?
It's a little square golden package that says Willow on it.
Golden
Not in any of the... Oh, just there.
Ah, right. I would explain. I've been looking
Do you know
all
what?
over
I
for Mr.
forgot.
Keeling's butter.
Hey, and there's my sandwich. Although only one of my sandwiches.
Right.
I think someone's
He's
eating my
gone on a
sandwich.
wild goose trail for Mr. Keeling. His butter was just right here in the fridge the whole time.
Hey, look, there's my butter.
Yeah.
I was just saying, sir, that actually cooking, other than the obvious science thing, which is that it's an irreversible chemical change.
Absolutely.
Actually, the write-up is very much similar because it has an equipment list and it has a method. And it almost almost has a prediction and evaluation, because by the photo and video that they might put in the recipe, you can evaluate your own effort.
And like I said earlier, I think any good chef considers the results and they analyse them. Did this work? Is it too salty? Is it too sweet? You know, which is the exact same thing you would do in experiments, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, you know, in kind of those fancy restaurants, and I think, you know, kind of in those fancy restaurants, you know, the ones where they spend lots and lots of time on just really, really small dishes, they do put in a lot of scientific effort to balance those flavors. Did you ever find that sugar from earlier? Because you know how much I really like that sugar.
That cupboard in front of me to your left on there, that one.
Something
Gastronomy? What do they call it? Something
gastronomy? Yeah.
Something. There is a scientific word for that. I'm gonna, maybe the chat can tell us.
Maybe, yeah. The science of cooking. Can you? Oh wow! You know, that's a name I haven't heard in a little while. He kind of disappeared for a bit, didn't he? Anyway, I'm going to do the first step. So, step 1. This is me following the instructions. Step 1: heat oven to 180 degrees. If you're cooking along, make sure you are doing it with adult supervision. My wife has just messaged me to say, don't forget one of those baking powders is out of date. I absolutely know, thank you. I've brought that up on the stream, but thank you for looking out for me, Mrs. Keeling. What a lovely,
one of the best wives in the world.
The best wife.
One of the best.
The best wife. So I'm going to turn on the oven.
Ooh.
And I'm going to turn it up. Fan oven.
Here is the oven.
So what heat are you setting to? I'm setting it to 180 degrees. Now, sir, could you explain to the chat how a fan oven works? I believe that it's electricity that heats up an element inside, isn't it? And then what happens?
That's exactly what's going on in here. So if we have a little look into this oven, you can see the lights lit up. Now, some of you might have gas ovens, which are using gas to heat them.
It's direct fire then, isn't it? They heat something.
That's not very common. It's
No.
very unusual, actually. The circumstance where I can think where that does happen is if you, maybe out in the countryside, you've got something like an Arga. But those are a little bit on the old fancy side. So yeah, there is an element in here. So it's a little bit like inside a light bulb. When you think electricity is going on, there is a filament, which we were talking about earlier when it came to the plants, that very thin little bit of wire. Now, when the electricity gets to it, it rushes through and it creates all of that sort of energy, which then is transferred from electrical energy into heat energy. Now, Mr. Keeling also mentioned a fan. Now, obviously, if that element was just there heating, then the heat would slowly radiate off from that.
Yeah.
The fan massively speeds up that process, and it sends that heat rushing around the oven. Now, here's a little top tip, and maybe Mr. Keeling could tell me the exact numbers, but when you're cooking with the fan on, you should always do it a little bit less than if you were doing it without the fan on. Is that right? Is there a certain magic number?
I think to be honest, most of the recipes nowadays account for that. So they generally say with a fan oven, this is what you should be baking it on.
Brilliant.
So most recipes do account. I don't think you even need to consider that anymore. And usually, if it will give you two temperatures.
I'm going to be honest with you, sir.
Yeah.
I mostly now cook using an air fryer.
Wow.
I absolutely love the air fryer. I think it's fantastic.
How very modern.
Yeah, apparently it reduces your electrical bills. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, because it's one day when I cooked the chicken, my electric bills went absolutely through the roof. But still, it's very fresh, very clean, very nice. You don't have to use as much oil. Now, believe it or not,
my wife just messaged and said that she finds it amazing that you have an air fryer.
Wow. Well, it is amazing. And not only any old air fryer, we're talking an air fryer big enough to get a whole chicken inside it. So it's quite something.
I think she's impressed.
Yeah, well, she should be. Now, where did we get to? Now, you're talking about, for a second there, we're talking about oils. Now,
oils? I wasn't talking about oil.
I was.
Right.
Now, oil, that sounds like the sort of thing you don't want in your diet. Is that right, sir?
No, actually, oil, it depends on the oil.
Yep.
So kind of natural butters or olive oil are actually pretty good because they give you good fats that are your body needs fat.
It does.
To some degree. To one, give you energy, and two, to keep you warm.
Now, here's the thing that I know is that if you look around the world at some of the countries, now obviously richer nations have a higher life expectancy, and you would expect that, wouldn't you, from a richer nation?
Yes.
Because if you're a richer nation, this is science. Then you're going to
This is science.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you would have greater access to healthcare, which is science, and you'd have greater access to education. The more educated you are, the more likely you are to live longer. And that's a proven statistic, because you're less likely to do dangerous things, take dangerous risks, or do things that might cause you any trouble. Would you mind just look? Oh, I can just look at it. Yeah, we're still going. Okay, good. So that is one factor. And being a scientist, I have to say, right, a wealthier country, they're going to have a higher living standard. However, there is one interesting thing about a region of the world that has often averages greater and longer life expectancies. And it happens to be the Mediterranean region, sir. Now, the Mediterranean region is not known for being one of the wealthiest places. It's not like Japan and places like that with the richest countries, Britain.
Don't they consume high amounts of olive oil?
Now, sir, you're pinning on something. They are countries rich in olive oil. They are often very poor, destitute nations like France. But they've got other countries as well, lovely ones, Italy, Greece, places like that. And and Spain, and they have all sorts of olive oil. And I think that probably plays a big part in their reason why they're living for so long.
Wow.
I can't prove that.
Maybe
it's a working theory.
If you have a little bit of olive oil, so each day for the rest of your life, and we can come back at the end.
And see
how long you live.
I've got an idea. Here we go. What do you think about this for a test? I will cook with olive oil and use olive oil, drizzle that onto my thing, and you could cook with butter. And we can see what will.
I'm just going to wash my hands.
Okay, you wash your hands. We can see. So back over to this oven. It's going to take a little bit of time to heat up. So you imagine it's going to be a bit of a difference in heat. Now I can still touch that, and it's absolutely fine. Obviously, if you're going to go in and cook, it would be really good if you get the permission of your parents. You should be learning to cook by now.
Check that chat again.
Very important to cook, and that you support your family in doing those things. We've got over here. This is an induction
best
pot,
wife,
and one of the best wives. And we're going to be using this later on.
Molecular gastronomy.
That's it, molecular gastronomy. Thank you so much. Yeah, that is the sort of science behind cooking. Getting the absolute perfect balances of flavors.
Eid Mubarak. A lot of people are saying Eid Mubarak. Eid Mubarak, absolutely.
Eid Mubarak to everybody. Big. So I can see things are heating up over there, and they're also heating up over here, sir, in the chat. Have you got any big shout-outs?
Not shout-outs, really. It's just mainly conversation and people saying, like,
good. Bit of Eid Mubarak, bit of conversation. I think that's really, really good. Fantastic. Wow, I noticed that this banana looks different to this banana. What's happening to this banana, sir? That means that this looks all different to these bananas.
Well, some bananas get bruised, but I think these are actually just overripe. And, basically they're getting to a point where they are starting to decompose a little bit. But that is fine, because actually we want them overripe, because they'll be better to mash and they'll add more flavour. And actually, because we're going to cook it at a high temperature, it doesn't matter if they're a little bit overripe. They're actually what we want.
That because even if it did maybe, now I know these don't have bacteria in them, because I know that with a banana, it's basically like it has been pre-packaged. It's got this beautiful seal over it that keeps bacteria and all sorts of microbes out of it. And it means that a banana stays fresh. It's amazing. Do you know what? And this is the biodegradable packaging. Unlike all of that ridiculous plastic that you find in the supermarkets.
Some things that are just in plastic for no reason.
Peppers. Why would you put pepper in plastic?
Peppers in plastic. I mean, you can buy them without plastic now. Yeah. And thank goodness you can buy a lot of things without plastic wrappers anymore.
But these have their own natural wrappers. Don't be buying bananas that have extra plastic on them, and it keeps them safe. And also the other thing is, once we get into that oven, the heat of that oven is going to destroy and kill those microbes. Absolutely. Because microbes, they're a living entity just like us, and they can't deal with those extreme heats. There are creatures that can deal with extreme heat, sir.
There are other things that live in volcanoes, isn't there? There's
microorganisms underwater volcanoes.
Underwater volcanoes.
You're absolutely right. So down in the deep ocean, there are types of bacteria that can grow around the vents.
There's growing beliefs that that's where life may have originated.
It might be so. And also there's a common misconception where we always say that the sun is the primary provider of all food on Earth. However, in the deep ocean, there is not a source of light, and yet life exists. So there are other chemical processes that are happening in the deep ocean that are providing the energy. So around those vents, the chemicals that are being given off, the bacteria is being able to process and create energy out of it. And then other crustaceans, smaller creatures, invertebrates are then able to eat those, which means that larger potential vertebrates are feeding off those. There's a whole life cycle existing down in the deep ocean that doesn't have the sun as its primary source of energy, which is fascinating. Are you fascinated by that, sir?
Right, on to cooking, guys.
You're not fascinated by
I'm
that?
fascinated.
My
completely
goodness.
Fascinated. But we are cooking banana bread. So would you have a check at the chat and just make sure no names are being put in? There was a lot of people saying don't put names, which is good. But just have a little monitor and have a little check on that for me. We are going to start off this cooking. No, that's not mine, sir. No. So I've done step one. I've set the oven to 180 degrees. And now it's asking me to butter a 2-pound loaf tin. So I have a loaf tin here. This was kindly brought to me by my wife, Mrs. Keeling, who's really lovely, probably the best wife.
Why not?
Well, the best wife. So what I'm going to do, it tells me to line this with grease-proof paper. How's it looking in the chat, sir? People...
The chat's fine. What's annoying is I put the kettle on, but of course I didn't turn the plug on the power. So
right. Well, as long as the chat's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore the instruction because it tells me to use baking parchment or grease-proof paper. I'm not going to do that. I am just going to grease the tin with butter, and I'm going to hope that it doesn't get stuck. Now, generally, when you've got a set of instructions, it's a good idea to stick to them. But we're going to change one variable, and hopefully we'll get a very similar product to what is advertised. So,
not
first of
massively
all,
changing,
not massively,
because you know that works.
I know that works based on past experience, and I'm sure that this is going to be.
So, do you know what that is called?
Fine. What is what?
It's called being a scientist. You've tested it, you've worked it out before, and you know that it functions.
Wow, did you look at that? I didn't know that, but I am a scientist. So, would you like to provide them with any more facts you talked about this micro?
No, I don't think I would. No,
no, you wouldn't like.
Oh!
Uh-oh. So, would you like to check the webcam off?
Hey, we're back on. Yes, we're all right. We had a little bit of an adventure. I'm hoping that's not a precursor to the ghost that exists.
Can we ask the chat how that looked, by the way? So, did that look pretty cool?
Was it pretty cool? Was that a good little... I don't know why, for some reason, it's not staying up. Oh, can I put this? Are you using that right now? Can I have the one that you're not using?
The one that's out of date, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
So, that's step one, the oven is on, and step two, that is greased. You might want to use the paper at home, but it is ready to go for me. Step 3, it says to cream softened butter and caster sugar until they are light and fluffy. 140.
We've got some recommendations for you in the chat. So one of those is put a bit of flour in a tin so it sticks to the grease. That's a recommendation. It's got from a pen. We've got a shout out for You Are One and Only. That's a bit of a shout out going on there.
One and only.
Amazing. Don't forget the tardigrade animals, Mr. Jordan. You're absolutely right. I'm fascinated by tardigrades. There's some people who say that tardigrades might be creatures from outer space. Maybe we'll have to do a little bit of check on the tardigrades later on. I'd like to do that. A lot of fascination in the comments. A lot of people saying hello. People being very helpful and reminding people not to say their names. Which I really like. Yeah. That's called moderation, isn't it? Self-moderation. You're moderating the groups for us, and we really appreciate that.
Wonderful. Well, while you were checking the chat, sir, I've just measured out 140 grams of caster sugar, which I...
How did you do that, sir?
I opened the packet, I poured it onto my scales, and
I
looked at the increments. We could look at the scales. So actually, the increments are quite challenging on this one because it goes up in 500. So this large line in the middle, that is 250. So every one large line in between, so if you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 250 means that it's going to be half of 125. So I know that when I got to 2 of those, it's 125, and I just did a little bit more. It's not precise, and it wasn't exact, but as long as I've got roughly the right amount of ingredients, this should still work. Now, Miss said something about putting the flour in it.
I've seen people put flour in to stop things from sticking as well.
So maybe if I dust it with a little bit of flour,
I'm going to get some milk. You're going to be okay.
I'll be fucking sad. I'm going to dust it with a little bit of flour. just to see if that helps. A little bit of flour in there, it's dusty. Okay, we'll see what that does. All right, so I've put the caster sugar in there. I need to also add in 140 grams of butter. So I'm going to measure that out now to have roughly the same amount in terms of weight. So let's get some of this butter. Here we go, pop it in there. How are we looking? Whoa, that is about perfect. Look at that first time. So I'm going to cut that up into little bits so it's easier to mix together. And I'm going to put that in with the sugar, the caster sugar in there. So we'll just cut that up a bit more, pop it in with the caster sugar. Now, I'm sure that at home you'll probably have better access to bowls and better equipment than me, but just use your imagination. And imagine I'm wearing a chef's hat, I'm in a well-stocked kitchen, and I've got everything exactly how it should be. But this is science, and we're using rudimentary tools in place of actual kitchen equipment. And sometimes you've got to make do, and sometimes you have to improvise. Now, cooking won't end when I finish the banana bread here, because Mr. Jordan is going to be cooking the mains. I'm going to wash the butter off my hands again. Let's get them back. That water is hot, hot, hot. Okay, let's cream together then the butter and the sugar, just as it says in the instructions.
Got milk.
Wonderful stuff. Could you tell the chap, what are you planning on cooking next?
Well, we were talking earlier about having a nice balanced diet. And one of the big things we need for a balanced diet is protein.
Wow.
And I know that you are a fan of protein.
I like savoury.
You do like savoury, that's true. As we said in the on the live stream a little bit earlier, you like brown food the most. So
No. What colour is that?
that is sort of beige.
No.
Yellow. Yellow. You want to call it yellow? It probably is yellow.
Light yellow.
You light yellow. So I'll show you what I'm going to be cooking afterwards. I am cooking some lovely British sirloin steaks.
Wow.
That's what we're going to be eating.
Are
you excited for that?
Yeah.
So you like steak. So do you think we need any veg with
It's
this?
interesting. Don't look that different to the heart. Strangely, I'm not.
You're not bothered
I'm
by
not bothered
this,
by that, no.
but you were bothered by the heart.
It's because it's recognisable as an organ. I think that's what it is.
Do you know what? I really do recommend that you go back into part 1 at some point of the 26-hour live stream and check out the heart experiment. There was a bit of it on the news today, which was really good to watch, but watching it live was quite an event.
It was certainly eventful.
It was quite eventful.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to be cooking us some pure protein, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the process and how it's a non-reversible process that we're calling it. Irreversible change.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's reversible and irreversible change.
I'm gonna
So
check it
I've
out.
creamed together that butter and that sugar. If we've got any comments, please pop them in. And now I'm going to beat 2 eggs. I'm going to get another fork to beat those 2 eggs with, and I'm probably going to mash the bananas in the same bowl.
Oh, thank you guys. People are DMing Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Let's keep contacting Elon Musk. And let's see if we can
please
get him on.
do. We would love to hear from them before the end of the chat. And we really do. We just really want to congratulate Elon Musk on that. On
We actually, I'd probably come in for this one as well, if you don't mind. We just,
We just really want to say well done.
Well done to Elon Musk
for the race. I think he does an impeccable job. He's done some amazing things.
What's that word?
Philanthropist. Yeah, he's a philanthropist. But not beyond that, the actual contributions that he's made to science. I mean, I once watched a video of him laughing for a while. That was pretty good. But he works well with Tesla, and then he's actually doing something. And this is funny. I quite like this pun. He's the CEO of a company that's called the Boring Company, and it's not boring as in it's boring. It's tunneling. So that's quite fascinating.
They've already made the tunnel. It's been quite a. Are we going to call it a success? Well, we will call it a success.
What he's working
If we
towards
get
is not a success yet.
We will, and it will.
It will be if we get a donation from
it'll be a
Elon Musk.
success.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack these eggs into this bowl.
Can I just say that people are saying how much they enjoy it at the moment, which is really, really nice. People saying
it is very sweet when we get those messages, and really those spur us on, especially at this time where we've still got many hours to go. In fact, are we halfway yet now, sir? 10 o'clock?
What's 26 divided by 2? That would be.
Yeah, we're halfway.
We're halfway.
Halfway through. In fact, over halfway by about 5 minutes.
How exciting!
However, we might add on half an hour for all the technical glitches.
No. We were teaching to do that.
We were. It's just no one could see it.
I can guarantee you, we were still going. We just didn't know you weren't able to watch it.
All right. Okay, cool. So I've got 2 eggs in here, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to just give them a little whisk and beat them. So break them up, and then I'm going to whisk them around.
So I have provided you here with something that is probably going to have a chemical reaction in your body and support you with your alertness.
I need that at the moment. I feel like I'm losing that kind of keen alertness at the moment. So that's going to be
So you're going to have a little
very nice, little sippy sip. First, I'm just going to add in those eggs to that mixture from before, like that. I'm going to keep this bowl though, because in this bowl I'm going to mash those bananas in a second, and I'm just going to mix in these eggs with the cream, butter, and sugar.
That's just looking great. Is there any way that I'm going to move the camera so we can see it? We're sort of watching you, not seeing what's actually happening.
Well, I think that's the key thing. As long as you're watching me.
Let's have a look inside here. It's looking like a bit of a sort of gooey mess there. It's good, right? That's what it's meant to look like.
10 p.m. You broke me at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So basically, guys, yes, it is looking a bit of a gooey mess. It's getting smoother as I mix, which is good. That's because the butter came straight from the fridge. If it was a little bit warmer, it wouldn't quite look like this. It would look probably a little bit smoother. But we can see that it's starting to take on a smoother consistency as I'm mixing it. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a longer mix than you might need to do.
That's really enjoyable. I'll probably keep this video on.
Yeah.
Pretty insane. So I noticed you're whisking with your hands. You're not bothering with electrical equipment. Is there any need to bother with this electrical equipment?
Well, I think for most of the time, electrical equipment is showy.
That's it.
So that word that we had earlier, showy. I think a lot of it is to kind of just say that you own that electrical equipment. And the amount of times that I've had friends over for just a little chat, and I've just shown off. Have you seen my electric hand mixer?
That is very true. You have done
that tends to be how
that's actually a
welcome
truth.
guests.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we've got the eggs, we've got the butter, and we've got the eggs all mixed together. And then it says fold in the remaining flour. I haven't put any flour in. I think I've skipped. Yes. Fold in a little of the flour I was supposed to.
Pure genius. I love this. Go, Keeling Jordan.
Who's that from?
This is so impressive. I love this vid. We're so proud of you,
Who called
Sean.
us Pure Genius? And who's proud of me?
Pure genius comes from I can't say names.
Oh, right, okay. And so it's not an adult, I guess.
It's not an adult. One of our children has very kindly said.
Well, that is really lovely. Don't say children's names. If it's an adult, then please share who said it.
You're joking about Elon Musk replying, have you? He said it depends if he has time. Are you being serious? Can you tweet that to me or something? Or are you just joking about that? Let's have a little look on the old notifications. Right, well, he's not replied to us. Maybe he's replied to you on your thing. Get in, send in the link. Here, I'll put the link in here and you can send that.
Tell him exactly what we've been doing. Tell him what we're doing. And we'll promote his business. We'll make him, what did he get? 50 billion, was it? How much did he make in 1 year? Was it 50 billion he was being paid?
Send him our link. There you go. I'm
going to fold in a little bit of this flour anyway. I think Sir's getting very excited that we might actually meet the real Elon Musk.
We're actually at 38 people on the live stream right now.
That is really cool. And if everybody, all 38 of you, tweet at Elon Musk, please join the Teach-A-Thon. They need you. They want you to help them raise as much money as possible. They know how hard you work, and they want to congratulate you on your pay rise.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll stop by if he's got time.
Science. That's what this is.
This is science.
There is actually a science
To science.
to science,
Right.
and I think that's what's really important.
Now I've just folded in a little bit of that flour, so now I'm going to fold in the rest. I'm also going to take a sip of this. This is going to cause a chemical reaction.
A chemical reaction in your body, which is quite important, predominantly in your brain. You're absolutely right.
That is nice. Thank you, sir. I'm going to fold in the remaining flour now, and I'm going to mix that in. It's starting to look smoother and less like goopy.
When you said fold in, I'm talking like a piece of paper because I haven't seen you much fold.
Right.
I'm going to just come and bring the camera back over onto this situation over here because it's getting pretty exciting. Wow. Now I see that the more flour you're adding, the greater the viscosity of the.
It's still quite yellow. You notice that? I haven't even added the
banana.
It's almost glowing yellow, isn't it? It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been that yellow.
I wonder what that's all about. Don't know. Science, isn't it? It is science. It would be nice to have a bit of colour, food colouring in it.
Oh, we could have red banana cake.
Would you like to go get some colouring?
I
Green.
love anything
Green
artificial going, you know.
Yeah,
Why
banana
not?
cake.
Go on. I'm going to be mashing some bananas anyway.
Chat, we are going to have green banana cake.
Oh.
Why not? Can
Why
you tell
not?
me one reason why not?
Green's a bit of an off-putting colour. I wouldn't. You remember Heinz? Or why wouldn't you remember Heinz?
Do you remember? Do you remember ketchup, Johnny?
Well, Heinz, back when I was a kid, so like when I was 12, 13, they made a green ketchup. They made it bright green. And my brother and I got really excited, so we bought it and we put it on our plate and I didn't want to eat it because it just looked disgusting. Tastes exactly the same, but it was bright green. And that was enough to just put me off it. So that's
It
one
didn't last
reason.
long, I remember that about it.
Well, I think we should make green banana cake.
We got to get some colouring.
Why not? So I'm going to open these. I don't think they are overripe, slightly, I guess. Maybe not quite enough. So I'm going to break it up a little bit before I mash it into the bowl. They smell overripe. Very strong, pungent banana smell. If Elon Musk did reply, please, keep tweeting out. Tell him that we would love to hear from him. I'm just going to break off that bruised area of the banana there. Put the rest in. Lovely. And then I'm just going to start mashing. Now, I forgot to bring a masher to school, but that's fine. I can just press it down with the fork. Mix it up a little bit and just keep mashing. Just keep mashing, just keep mashing, mashing, just keep mashing. Kind of like that song from Finding Nemo, isn't it? Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. I don't know if that's how it goes. I can't really remember. I haven't watched Finding Nemo in years and years and years. I'm going to keep singing. Just keep mashing, just keep mashing, just keep mashing. It's interesting. It's interesting how long a teacher can actually talk for. It is a skill, I think. Think about how long Mr. Jordan and I have been speaking today. Think about how many words we've probably used. Speaking pretty much non-stop for 12 hours and 15 minutes. That must be a lot of words. And sometimes you just run out of words and you just start talking nonsense. Like I'm talking not exactly scientific.
Food colourings.
Fabulous.
I had an idea about the food colouring to not mix it in too early.
Right.
And I thought that if we swirled a bit of green and a bit of red in just before it goes into the tray, we might have swirls of colour.
Well, we're about to put it into the tray.
Oh, amazing. That's absolutely perfect time. We're very excited. Oh my God. You're going to be excited when we go back. There's one of the experiments has done something. I don't know what I'm like. I don't want to build the excitement too much.
How's the Elon Musk thing going?
I haven't checked the live chat. I'm going to have a little look now. What's been going on with Elon Musk? Get him on the chat. Let's have a look. I sent this to Elon Musk. That's good. DM Elon Musk with a link. Yes, please. Oh my gosh, Elon Musk sent me a voice recording. I feel like you're making this up. If that's true, that's quite incredible. No. No.
You don't know.
No.
You don't know.
I don't know. Keep pushing. You're so close to finishing this. We're halfway. We've got 14 hours left. I hope we've only...
13 hours.
Is it 13?
Actually, 12 hours, 45 minutes.
12 hours, 40 minutes. What are you making, Mr. Jordan and Mr. Keeling? That's a very good question, sir. Some people have just joined into the chat. Are you okay? Are you okay to... don't say your name, please. Just there's quite a few new people who are joining into the chat right now. So can I just do a sort of reminder?
Yeah,
absolutely. One, I understand that we're being friendly and this is a safe zone. And, you know, we've got Causeway Green, we've got Anglesey Primary School coming together.
Two teams joining together for the greater good.
The greater good. For science.
For science.
Science. And the community.
Yeah, for the good of the community.
But just wanting to be aware that this is public, it's broadcastable to everybody. We have been on the BBC earlier on today. And it's just absolute common sense that we don't broadcast our name.
No, we don't want
especially when it's kind of obvious about what schools we're representing that we've just mentioned them again.
Yeah.
Because then people can find you and it's just not great. So let's not do that. The second thing is I can't wait in case Elon Musk gets back to us. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
There is a joke Elon Musk account, so let's just be careful. It's the same thing. But I do think he should donate a bit of his money towards us.
Absolutely. And even if it's a joke account, he should donate to it.
What was the third thing? I can't remember what. Oh, I know it.
We're making banana bread.
Yeah, good. So what we're doing right now, I'm just going to move this camera down a little bit. Mr. Keeling has been mixing up this banana bread. You can see here, at the start of this, it was a bit of a gooey mess. But he has mixed and mixed and mixed it until it's now quite a viscous substance, would you say so?
Yeah.
There is kind of it looks beautiful actually. And what you're missing out on here is the beautiful banana-y odour that is emitting.
Smells almost quite, what's the word?
Banana-y. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like more mine, isn't it? You know? It is really weird how we just think like, what colour should we do, guys? Should we do one colour or should we try and do a swirl? What do you think?
I'll go and check the chat.
I'm
really keen personally on the old swirl.
I'm kind of keen to just make it vibrant green.
Vibrant green. Well, I'll tell you what, so a little vote. Vibrant green, swirl. I think they're actually both great ideas.
Yeah, they are great ideas. But which one,
Might as well get a little bit of vote in, mightn't
Let's have a vote. I'll give it, what, should we give it a minute? Let's give it 1 minute.
Oh, well, I was going to give it less than a minute. I'm going to give it 10 seconds. Right. If you want to give it a minute, that's fine.
Okay, 10 seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
It's the most boring countdown I've ever
4, 3. Yeah, well, it's your face.
Right.
2, and 1. There's a clear winner, and you're not going to like it. So
Swirl.
it's red.
Just red.
People want red. Red, 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 red swirl, red swirl.
So we're going to bright red.
Not even one vote for green. It's everyone wants red. Literally, there are more people even going red. Caroline Penn, Miss Penn wants yellow and red. But I think
how much of this is not dangerous?
I think it's all not dangerous.
So you could just drink that.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't.
No, definitely not.
Don't go into the cupboard and drink little bottles.
How many? Could you ask Caroline? Caroline Penn is so good at this kind of stuff. Could you ask Caroline Penn how much?
I am gonna
for a vibrant red.
I can't walk much.
For a vibrant red. Ask Caroline Penn.
Right, Caroline Penn, a vibrant red. Honestly, the chat has gone absolutely crazy for red. The only person is my wife who wants green.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Jordan. Thank you so much for the teas, were they earlier?
Yeah, chai lattes.
Wow.
Everyone
lovely,
wants red.
One of the best wives.
Yes, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have mentioned wife on the chat. Right, I think red is what we're going with. And I can't.
Mrs. Penn, tell us how much.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was looking for, wasn't it? Mrs. Penn going to tell us how much.
Mrs. Penn, how much?
Should we just glug a bit in, Mrs. Penn? Is that what we're going to do?
Oh, dear, Mrs. Penn.
She says you'll need approximately 10 drops. Oh, wow.
Okay.
That is helpful.
That is very helpful.
Let's do this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10! Oh, no.
Is that really going to be enough?
Could you ask Mrs. Penn what happens if we put 11?
I'm not going that
Right, I'm sorry.
Just walking between these two buildings is actually surprisingly tiring. I think we need more than that. That just looks like you've slightly bled it. Mrs. Penn, I'm overruling you and putting a tiny bit more in.
Okay, go for another 10.
Right.
No more than that then.
1, 2,
Whoa,
3.
okay.
Right, that's looking enough.
That's a bit better, isn't it? Yeah. Do you want to show
Mrs. Penn, we've got a bit of science, Mrs. Penn, and we think really it was 20 drops. I'm sorry.
There we go.
What do you think of that?
It doesn't look as appetizing as it did before. That's what I think.
Well, the chat wanted red,
They wanted red.
and
Yeah.
you've got to do what the chat says.
Yeah.
Still think we put more red in.
I don't want to put any more red in. I think that's enough.
Brilliant.
Right. Well,
Will it now taste like
it
strawberries?
will taste red.
It will.
So I'm going to put that now.
Oh, hold
into-
on. This is exciting. We're not missing out on this.
Okay, let's get a spoon because I want to scrape everything out.
I don't know if people have even seen inside this exciting thing. So, what Mr. Keeling's done is he's greased up the edges of it, and that's going to, so it's like a lubricant, and makes it slip in, slip out. And he's also floured the bottom of it. And the purpose of that is because Mrs. Penn said it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And that is enough.
I don't know if that's the way she wanted me to do it, but I was
Well,
going off what you
Yes.
for me.
I think
So I'm just going to kind of pour this in there.
pouring it in.
Don't need to be neat about it.
Ooh, nice. Look how red that is.
Yeah. It's more of a gross, vomity orange, I would say, but
It does come out rather orange. Maybe in the oven, it will bake more red.
yeah, and look less like it does look like vomit.
It's like Teletubby custard. Remember that?
Tubby
custard!
Tubby custard! My brother,
Showing our
no.
age there, but-
Tubby custard. My brother was mad for tubby custard.
It does look like Tubby custard.
Right, well, there we have it, sir.
Oh, fantastic.
We have our banana. Would you like a slice?
Are we ready? Do I just put my hand in or what goes on? So now I've got, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
I think you've made a mistake.
Yes.
It's tiny. You know, that's nothing. It's look how small it is. What have you
This is
done?
dessert,
Right,
so we only need half of that each.
right.
That's big enough.
Okay. And it's just going to stay that small, yeah?
No, I think it'll rise
Oh.
when we put in because of the self-raising plant.
So a chemical reaction is going to take place because
Mhm.
this is science.
I mean, as is at the moment, you wouldn't be able to separate the ingredients.
No.
So that changes.
Amazing.
That's permanent anyway. But we'll put it in and make it even more permanent once some more chemical reactions.
I love that. That's fantastic. And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to try and look for because I should have done this already. Try and find it. Now, we're talking about healthy diet.
Now that should go in there just for the chat. It says 15 minutes, but I don't think there's enough of it in there for it to be 50 minutes. So I'm going to check that every 10 minutes. Just put the end of that spoon in, just see if it jiggles and if it's wet. If it is, I'll just put it in for another 10 minutes. I reckon that will be done in about 25 to 30 minutes.
Your banana bread don't just jiggle, it folds, is what I've heard. Now, this is a pan. And this we can use to fry stuff.
I already know about Peter Pan. I did a whole play around.
Did you? What was the main sort of points you got from that play?
Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Pantomime. Pantomime. Now I
Pants.
did try and do that
Was he
play
wearing
here
pants?
once, but actually it didn't work out, did it? But then I did that play.
Oh, yeah, you
I
did.
tried to do it.
Everyone got all excited.
Yeah.
And then
it has to be cancelled.
then he cancelled. I remember that. What was that for? How did it get cancelled? Right, we've got a pan here, and we are going to get ourselves some protein. Okay, Mr. Keeling and I are in desperate need of some protein. Now, as you know,
Oh, we've got a few responses to Tubby Custards there.
Tubby custard.
People are, and they've put a fire symbol there.
Oh man, that's good.
Teletubbies, Tubby Custard. Looks
Yeah.
like strawberry yogurt. Let's hope it tastes nice. Looks like frozen yogurt. Bit more red, somebody said.
I agree with
Your
you.
laughs are funny. Can you do a funny dance? I did a bit of a funny dance earlier. Can
Yeah.
you do a funny dance, sir? You're pretty good at funny dancing. Now you were actually at my wedding, weren't you, sir? And
I was at
you
your
did
wedding.
a wonderful dance all night. Can you replicate some of the dance moves that you threw?
I think if we get, at £3,000, I'm already doing Scotch bonnet.
Yeah.
And I know it's £6,000 you're doing Scotch bonnet.
Yeah. Should we do a check-in actually?
I'll
and
do
see
a-
what we are up to at
Quick
the
check
minute.
in. I've actually got a tab at the top over there if you want. Oh no, you do it in French. We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll have a
I
little
think
check and
what's
see how we do.
halfway, sir, between 3,000 and 6,000?
Ooh, that would be 4,500, wouldn't
I'll do a special dance at 4,500.
Wow, 4,500. That's what we need to get up to, and we need to get Elon Musk on
If
board.
Elon Musk is listening, don't forget we will promote you on our live stream.
We have actually moved up a little bit, sir. So I am really happy because
Where are we at?
the last time I checked, we were at £2,020.
2020.
We are now at £2,070. So we've moved up £50.
2070, and that's
£50,
very
and
good.
that's come from 1, 2, 3, 4 donations. So we've got some comments with those donations.
Please, I'd
We've
like
got
to read them, yeah.
onto the night shift! Exclamation mark!
Absolutely.
Wonderful, really good. Keep it up, Sammy. You are fab. Is one. I don't know who is that. You or me? I don't know, Sammy, but that's yeah. Keep going, doing so well, and that's from Mrs. Draper.
Ooh.
And then we've got good luck. We are so proud of you both and appreciate everything you do for Anglesey. And Causeway Green.
Causeway Green.
And Causeway.
And Causeway Green. Right. I was going to say something. It's surprising how many little ideas pop into your head at this time of night and then just vanish forever.
Yeah.
If it comes back.
Cooking.
Right. So, Pam. Now, we made an agreement earlier on, Mr. Keeling and I, that going forward for the next, I think we said 40 or 50 years, I am only going to cook using olive oil, and Mr. Keeling is only going to cook using butter. And we're going to see if that affects our lifespans. We're going to do a little sort of long-term test on that. But seeing as I am providing food for Mr. Keeling, we're going to go down the butter route today.
Ooh.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
well,
let's go
that's,
butter.
right, that's your only option. I'm going to partake in the butter. Now, one of the things, first of all, I've never cooked a steak on an induction hob, and I wouldn't say this is the best thing to do. I don't even know why I'm scraping this into the bottom. It's going to melt in a second. I'm losing my mind. One of the things we want is a little bit of grease in the pan because we don't want anything to stick to it. That is science, okay? As things heat up, they stick. Something like that, all right? Okay. How this works. So, we probably want... Now, I've heard that with the meat that salt does something to it. Kind of like softens it or something like that. Is there an option whilst I'm opening this for a fact check on that?
What exactly?
What I want to know is, what does salt do to raw meat? I feel like this, like it, like softens it.
It binds it, and it basically enhances the water holding capacity.
Hold on, say that again.
It binds the water.
The water.
It enhances the water holding capacity of meat.
Right.
By solubilizing the muscle proteins,
Goodness me.
leading to a firmer, juicier product. So basically, simply put,
Salt.
it retains water.
It retains, right, fantastic. Now, you'd be surprised by that because normally when I think of salt,
Yeah, it absorbs the water, takes it out. Yeah,
That's
but no, it
So
absolutely keeps it in.
Now we know the science behind that. You put salt on your steak to make them juicier and even more tasty. And I didn't know that was a thing. I've left all the condiments up the road, haven't I? I've got black pepper. I've been banging on about salt. So let's have some salt. Oh! Got some of this
There we
salt
go.
here.
Saxa.
We're going to use a little bit of salt. I don't want this stuff to much pour in, so I'm going to pop some in my hand so that I can just pinch it on.
Fabulous.
I don't want to have too much salt, but I'm just going to pop that salt onto the top of my steak there because, as Mr. Keeling just said, the salt is going to react with the proteins. And actually, but despite what you would imagine salt is going to do, because I always think of salt as being something that dries me out, it's actually going to lock up some of the juices in that steak, and it is going to make it a little bit tastier. And I'm going to just flip this steak over here. Probably I'm going to put some pepper on the other side. I don't know why I've not done that. It's like I'm not functioning on all cylinders.
Don't know why.
Yeah?
Don't know why.
No, I don't know why either. I'm just going to make sure I'm just going to sprinkle a bit of salt all over that. And now what I'm going to do, add a little bit more seasoning. Now I think one thing that's really important, Sarah, while you're cooking, especially if you're dealing with raw meat, that you keep your hands nice and clean.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, sir, is because of the bacteria that may or may not be growing in that meat. Now, actually,
Isn't it true, sir, that you can actually eat steak, beef steak raw?
yeah. So in Britain, we're actually rather. It's a lid on that. In Britain, we're actually really lucky because we don't have many of the kind of bacteria, and that's broken now as well. This is not going too well, is it?
That's fine. So, I mean, you know, we can do the cooking. It doesn't have to taste perfect.
Quality and
So it's just nice that you've made it for us.
Anyway, the point is I've seasoned that nicely. If I was back in the other room, I would have had a little bit of paprika, maybe a little bit of chili, would spiced it up a little bit, and it would taste absolutely delicious. It's really good to put your seasoning on before you're going to go and put it into the pan. It gives it time to, I'm going to say marinate, although that's not really what's happening, is it? But I've said it, so I wouldn't take
We're
it
going to
back.
go with it.
I'm going to go with it.
Let's go with marinade.
I'm actually going to wash my hands again. Is that all right?
Good.
Yeah. So I like to keep my.
I'm just going to hold these up to the camera so that you know everyone can see and have a nice look at how.
Or
well
hold the camera down to the steak.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Well seasoned. Seasoned, you are a seasoned
A
professional.
seasoned professional.
Look at that.
A seasoned professional, and 'tis the season
To be seasoned.
to be seasoned. It is actually the euros, I've heard, which I think is a European currency. So I don't know what they're doing with their euros. Luckily, the United Kingdom doesn't have euros. Right. That's what we're going to do. Move that over here.
Somebody saying yum, add some tomato, lettuce, and onion.
I actually agree with all of this. I think we should have had some more condiments, more flavors, a little bit more of almost
Steak.
everything. So, can you tell me, can you see me?
Looks fantastic.
Perfect.
I've got a request for shouting out. We're not doing any names on this stream. You absolutely must make sure that you're not putting your name into the stream as well. We don't want to share names again because we know what school we are and this is open to the public as well.
Yeah,
so please
so
don't put your names.
If you want to shout out, you can come up with a pseudonym.
Yeah.
You know, a pseudonym, what that is like it's like a fake name that we use online. And it's actually really a good idea to come up with an ulterior name that you use online. I tell you for all sorts of reasons. One, it allows you to communicate with other people in a safe manner. The other thing, the other thing is that, you know, as children, we say things, we do silly things, we do stuff online. And we do not want that to be linked to our name when we get older. It's kind of unfortunate the way that all of the information on the internet is collected and can be used against us. So don't use your real name when you're doing stuff online.
No, so I'm just going to take this towel.
Yeah.
Have we got any oven with actually, or have we just got what we've got?
I've never cooked on one of these ovens, and this gets real hot real quick. It's quite amazing.
But
But it doesn't feel hot, so.
we're going to take 2 towels just in case, just to be safe. And then I'm going to have a little look at how we're doing with our banana bread.
Banana bread update going on there. I'm going to. So you want to have? I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to pick this up and have a little look in the oven. So can we have a little look at that, please? Possibly.
So at the moment, if you have a look,
Whoa!
you can see
Wobbly,
that it's
wobbly.
not wobbly. Needs more time. So back in it goes. Check again. Another 10 minutes, I think.
I'm just going to chuck these steaks on and see what happens.
Yeah, why not?
Right, so chucking this steak number 1 in, and we can hear whoa,
Nice sizzle.
frying. So I'm going to bring the camera over so you can have a little look at the situation. Now, it's good that I oiled it because actually the steak has already stuck a little bit to the pan. I'm going to bring it over here. You can see it sizzling away. I can see the oils underneath it. The steak itself is going to produce some sort of lubricating oils as well. Because that white bit, do you remember, if you look back in the chat and you have a look at the bit where we were cutting up and dissecting hearts, we saw the white kind of stuff around the heart, which is the fat. And the fat is juicy, it's delicious, and it's oh so good to eat. And I'm really excited. I'm going to get a fork so I can turn these over. There we go. Have a little look. Now I can see some steam coming off this. And that's showing me the heat, and I'm going to keep moving it so it really is sticking to the pan. Not an anti-stick pan, I'll tell you that, sure. Right, it's starting to brown up a little bit. Let's have a little look if you can see.
Okay, I'm just sorry, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just doing another reminder about names and actually full names. Now, what people are saying is good luck from, and that's a lovely message.
Yeah.
But then it's the name after it. So I'm going to have to remove that from the chat. We really appreciate the good luck, but please stop putting names, especially full names, into that chat, please.
Yeah. It's not as bad as it was earlier, so I know there were threats that we'd have to shut off the chat. People are just being nice now, aren't they?
They are being really nice. They're being really, really
Now,
lovely.
we've been cooking on one side. It's about time now. And see, it's still red on this side because the heat has been applied from underneath. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip, whoa, my steak over. Oh, yeah, boy. Wow, good. Now, it's interesting because when we were talking about the digestive system earlier on, we were talking about some of the things that happen in our mouth when we start to smell something delicious. So can you remember what happens in our mouth when we start to smell something delicious?
When we start to smell, well, we start to build saliva in our mouth, don't we? So those enzymes are created and we start to try and break things down.
So
we're having a lot of chat at the moment about football, which is really nice.
Yeah,
some things suck. We've got somebody saying, is it halal that we're cooking at the moment?
Yeah, we've got some nice halal steaks.
There we are. At least have a chance of winning. Yeah, very friendly chat. Lots of people. Mr. Jordan, do you remember that Ronaldo is playing? I don't know if that's specific to you, sir.
Yeah, Ronaldo. What a guy. I like Alan Shearer personally. He's my footballer. Do you know what I'm going to do whilst I'm leaving this to cook? And I think this is always sensible. I've left a little bit of mess. So what I'm going to move the mess, get rid of that, make sure that the room is staying nice and tidy. And that's going to save me from tidying up a little bit later on. I'm going to leave you. So have you got anything left in the chat you would like to just mention?
I think most of the comments, Mr. Keeling and Mr. Jordan is better than Ronaldo.
Woohoo!
Modric and Kane combined. Wow.
They've seen my skills.
What a compliment.
They've seen my
that
skills.
is,
what can I say?
I think we've caught up on the chat, really. It's been quite positive. A lot of it chat about football, but I think that's most of the comments.
Brilliant. Now, you can see that the colour has changed, hasn't it, as it's cooked. We're now having what's called a irreversible reaction.
Looking good.
And I can start to smell a little bit of burning on the underside. I'm just going to flip that back over to make sure you get it cooked nicely on both sides. And that smell is starting to fill up the room. I'm going to get a plate there.
Lovely. I'm just going to tidy away a little bit so they're on here.
And then you guys are going to have the absolute pleasure of watching us eat food. It's a real treat.
But then, we can talk a little bit about the digestive system again and revisit what we talked about earlier.
We don't want to revisit. We'll go into a different level of depth. So.
Wow.
That's what we're going to do.
Fabulous.
We're going to.
I don't know how much depth I know on the digestive system. So
Wow.
you might set
It gets pretty deep.
So I'll just listen along and be fascinated with the kids.
Yeah.
Whilst I enjoy my steak.
Yeah. Right, still cooking away. Look at all of this these gases that are coming off. But I don't know about you, but I think it's about time I'm going to stop cooking this steak.
Okay.
I'm going to serve this steak up.
Sure.
Lovely. Whoa, cool.
Very nice.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
What a
Going
fantastic
in our
steak.
time.
I'm going to pop this straight into the, because can you see that what's happened is you've got carbon buildup on the bottom of the pan. And that's got to stick, so I'm going to quickly get that in. I'm going to use the washing up liquid, which acts as a kind of a lubricating agent, doesn't it, to unslip that carbon buildup.
Wonderful. I'm going to pop this can here. Again. You don't want to be too close to us and the eating and the noise. I'm going to get a knife and fork, sir.
I've got one knife and fork in my hand.
Lovely. Looks very nice, sir.
Brilliant.
I'll wait for you because obviously you've done the cooking. You can tell us what's happening right now with our digestive system.
Shall I go and put this over here? Brilliant. Now, as you probably are aware, the smell, it's done a... Oh, take that out of my pocket. It has started to increase our salivary glands. I've done this in a rare way because, as Mr. Keeling said, you don't need to fully cook your steak. Red meat is
Just check right on camera.
has a kind of protective layer around it. Now, this is not true for all meats. If you've got white meats, things like chicken, stuff like that, you do need to cook them through and make sure that they're thoroughly cooked.
That's very good, sir. Very tasty.
So, in my mouth right now, the saliva, the enzymes are helping to break it down.
Around. So it goes down the esophagus.
I mean,
Keep it going.
what really is happening is I'm predominantly using my molars, which are the back teeth, and they're there for sort of grinding and chewing that up. Now that's interesting that I just said I'm predominantly using my molars when we spent so much of today talking about how the herbivores have more molars, but it is the molars that are being used to chew it up. So there's a bit of tearing by my incisors. That's if I'm taking a bite,
But actually, we're using tools, aren't we? Come on, 2211.
Just taking me longer to chew.
Mm-hmm.
I thought. No. Interestingly, in school, we often get taught about the flavour receptors on your tongue. And we think about sweet, bitter, and sour, don't we? There is another flavour receptor on your tongue known as umami. You heard of this one?
I have, yeah.
And when you're eating a protein or a steak, it's that is really that sort of proteiny, steaky, fulfilling, basically the flavour of savoury food. That's what's really hitting those receptors right now. And that's another thing that obviously we have evolved to really, really like. Because as I was saying earlier in the chat, in the live stream, sorry, that we were predominantly a scavenger creature for most of our existence. So when there was meat available, we wanted to scoff as much as we could do because we were weak as a species. We wouldn't have been able to defend ourselves against our main predators at the time. Things like the saber-toothed tiger and all those other bigger, larger, more dangerous creatures. So yeah, we evolved to make sure that this is a flavor that we wanted and we liked as much as possible. Same with that sweet flavor. It might not have been often that we would have been able to gain access to sugar. So when there was a berry or something sweet, we wanted to make sure that we would eat as much of it as possible.
Interesting question. What do you think? You know, because we use knives and forks, that our teeth over the years have changed.
I actually heard that that's a true story.
I think that needs fact checking. Yeah.
At least fact checking, but it's something to do with the shape of our mouth has changed.
Which would make sense because, you know, the less we use them, do we need them?
The shape of our feet have changed. Shoes, they squash your feet. So, very nice. So your feet naturally, when you think of your feet, you sort of think of that sort of shape of them all coming together, don't you, with the toes all coming to a point. Well, it's actually the shoes that are shaping your feet like that. And actually, naturally, your toes splay out like that. And that is the healthy, natural way, so that the toes would take the initial impact. Now, because we've got shoes, what often ends up happening is that the heels take the initial impact. And this leads to all sorts of back problems, knee problems, all sorts of aches across the body.
Wow.
And that is predominantly because of our shoes that are just highly not natural, if that's the word for it.
How bizarre.
Yeah. And so one of the big trends I know that's growing is having shoes that, first of all, allow room at the front, because most of these shoes, they come to a point, which reshapes your toes. And they have these heels that make you sort of step down on them. And there are these shoes that are basically heelless, like as though you're barefoot, basically.
Oh, excuse me.
And it's meant to be much better for back problems, joint pains, all sorts of things like that.
Fabulous. I'm just going to have a little wander over so I can check the chat and just see what's going on with the stream while we are enjoying our dinner.
I mean, if we lost connection a little while ago,
we would know. Yeah.
How's it going on the chat, sir?
We have lost connection. Joke.
Oh, you.
We're surprisingly 23 people are still watching.
23 people are watching us. It's got a name, this, you know. Is it mukbang?
Well, when you're eating food on YouTube,
Yeah.
I think so, something like that. Mr. Jordan, you look like a chef. That's how good the food looks. I want to eat your food. Lots of footballers' names. Looks supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That's true.
It was 5-1. Yeah, football chat. Lovely. The banana bread is
burnt.
Oh, banana bread.
Oh, into the banana bread. We were getting distracted talking about umami and all sorts of things like that. Let's have a look how this is going on. Ooh, I can't see smoke, so that's a good sign. Oh, wow.
I think.
Can we show it to the camera?
Yeah.
I'll bring the camera over a little bit.
I think I'm going to put a spoon in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to check it. I think it might be just a little bit wrong. I might turn the oven down.
So he's shutting the door sensibly so that we don't lose all that heat that's been built up in there.
But we'll cool it down just a little bit, which we do want.
So why have you cooled it down a little bit, sir, in the oven? What's that all about?
Because I don't want the outside, and you can see it's still raw in the middle, so it needs a little bit more time.
So what
I don't want the outside of it to burn and the inside of it not to cook. So
that's smart.
I'll just turn it down so it doesn't cook that outside too much whilst we're waiting for the inside to properly cook.
I like that.
Okay, we'll leave that for about another 5 what is going on. Thank you, chat, for that. I'm going to just check and catch it again.
Lucky that the chat is
Looking out for us, absolutely. Mrs. Penn found that hilarious.
Did she?
My art teacher. Yeah.
Mrs. Penn was your art teacher. Lovely that Mrs. Penn is still getting involved in the Anglesey community.
Absolutely. It looks like something Jamie Oliver and Gordon Ramsay would make.
That's right.
Yep.
That cake, it looks delicious. Do we call
Mrs.
it a
Penn,
cake?
how long are you staying for? I think Mrs. Penn's in for the whole night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Right, you should better.
I don't know what we're going to do without her.
Mm-hmm.
But she says until I get too tired. I mean, I hope that's 11 a.m. tomorrow,
11 a.m.
which is in 15 minutes, 12 hours away. If that makes you feel good, ready to go, sir?
See what I'm excited about?
What's that?
I've got that hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, the elephant's tooth.
The elephant's toothpaste. I think we should have a little Google. Well, I'll have a little Google whilst you chat about something and work out how to do that.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have a go. Yeah?
Ooh.
One of the things I know, when we do that, we're going to do a reaction a little bit later, but it does create quite a lot of heat initially, so we need to stay back.
Mm.
And also, hydrogen peroxide is very dangerous. That's the other thing we need to be aware of.
Okay. So do not do that at home. Absolutely not.
Everything so far has been safe. The elephant toothpaste, no.
No, and standing on the tables, don't stand on tables at home. But if you do want to watch people standing on tables and dropping parachutes, please go back to part 1.
We're not standing on tables?
Not at home, no. So what were we saying before I moved over to the chat?
What was that? Oh, God. Food's just falling out of my mouth on live stream.
That's fine.
I'm going to turn the timer up a little bit now for you. Well, we were talking about a mixture of things. We were talking about feet splaying out in shoes. I don't know how we got to that.
Oh, yeah.
I do know how we got to
Well,
umami.
we were talking about teeth and how teeth were changing.
Oh, yeah, teeth changing. I know that there is an additive that you can add to food, which people thought was dangerous, but isn't. And it's basically just like salt or pepper, which is MSG. Have you heard of MSG?
I haven't. I have heard that that's bad.
Yeah, it turns out it's not actually that bad for you. There's no real evidence to show that it's bad for you.
Oh,
It's just
really?
a little bit of bad press it got because it was predominant in Chinese restaurants in America. So, yeah, it's a good
What's
flavour.
the truth about MSG?
Well, MSG is a natural flavouring, which is an umami receptor. So a bit like when you put a bit of salt on, it puts the salt flavour. With MSG, traditionally, it's called monosodium glutamate, which sounds like a really dangerous sort of chemical noise, doesn't it? But it comes from like seaweed, and it's a very natural product. And it's the processed seaweed. It was invented in Japan, and its purpose initially, because it affects your umami receptors, and we know that that's something that we've evolved to like and to feel comfortable with, that savory flavor, that they would mix it with the sort of poor foods in feudal Japan. So it could be, like your rices and your things that were kind of low nutritional value. Once you put the MSG in it, it suddenly had a fuller flavor and it satisfied the poorer people more.
Wow.
It was a way of making people feel that they were getting more from their meal, I guess.
That sounds fascinating.
But a lot of gristle.
Wouldn't you feel there was a lot of gristle, but the actual meat pulp was delicious, absolutely delicious. Is that why when you eat food with MSG in it, you feel quite full quite early on, but then later you might feel hungry again?
More again. Yeah, it's very Moorish substance. We have it in like Doritos and other things. Is it Doritos? What's the one that don't
Pringles?
pop? Pringles, that's the one. Don't pop, don't stop, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that makes it that kind of
When you
Moorish.
can't.
You feel like you're getting a full meal, and actually you're not. It's just rubbish, really.
Pringle, actually, they wanted to be, they wanted to be classified as not a crisp.
What did it want to be?
I can't remember exactly what they wanted to be, but
Fruit.
they had more. They were. I think they were arguing that they had more in common with like a biscuit or a cake or something like that.
Tax purposes.
Tax purposes. So that it wasn't. So that the tax would be lower.
I'm sure that's not Jaffa cake.
No, I'm pretty sure Pringles tried it. Without fact check.
Fact check.
Fact check. Do you remember where I put the towels? I think I put them over there because we need to check on that. Oh, I just found some oven gloves. Look at that.
Brilliant. I'll tell you what, whilst you go and check in the oven, I'm going to have a little look at the chat, see what's been going on.
Yeah.
And wow, look at this. Lovely staying up with in it. We're so kind. Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Thank you,
Again, I'm
everybody.
going to try this with the spoon.
Yeah, guys, it's really nice you guys offering to stay up. I'm just going to move. Oh, yeah, you're back on the camera. I guess I would just say that if you're, we're going to do some, we're going to be investigating ghosts. Some people are talking about scary stories. We're not going to do scary stories as such, because that's not really science. But we decided, I'm just going to keep my hands in here so it's clear that we're on. I'll tell you what, I'm going to just watch Mr. Keeling. Oh, no, you can just watch me whilst I'm talking. We decided that what we could do is a scientific experiment into whether ghosts were real or not real. So last time, I don't know if you're watching the 24-hour live stream, at one point I went out and definitely saw a ghost. That was right, wasn't it, Mr. Keeling?
I don't think you did, sir. But we're not proving whether or not ghosts exist. We're not going to do that because we can't, Ultimately, we can't test everywhere that's haunted tonight. We are just going to test if we can replicate what happened last time by creating the conditions which are you alone in the hall with the camera and the door slightly ajar to the PE cupboard.
Right.
And you calling out hello, or just provoking.
Right. Okay. Not sure how I feel about it, but yeah, good. Yeah, good. We're not having little competitions between us about favourite and all that kind of thing. That's not what we need to do. Thank you very much. Good. Right. Lo. What have we got? What have we got, sir? Where are we at?
I think we're about at that point where we do that test.
Oh, excellent. Wow.
I feel like we should do it whilst we're in this building because after that I don't want the internet to drop again.
Good idea, sir. I'm going to screw this on. I'm going to put away our mess because a good scientist doesn't leave a messy. Is this yours?
That's mine. Yeah, we're going to collect all of the stuff into the carrier bag. Make sure that we put it away. Although we do need to eat that banana bread before we go, or at least try it. I don't think I'm a bit full, sir. I don't know about you. I would probably just have a little bit of it, but then we can always eat some more later.
I like the sound of that. That sounds like very good.
Just to give it a try, so that the chat and the stream know how it tastes, how it's turned out, whether or not I was right to grease the pan as I did, and whether or not the flour idea from Mrs. Penn has helped.
I love the flour idea from Mrs. Penn.
Absolutely, I love all the ideas that
I'm
Mrs.
going
Penn
to
has given.
put these weighing scales back where I found them. Do we need weighing scale again tonight?
I don't think so.
Right, I don't want to be accused of losing these, so I'm going to just put them in a cupboard. That'll be 2 seconds.
Absolutely, and I'm going to check on that banana bread. We're going to have a little look at it and see how that has come along. So, let's take that banana bread out of the oven and have a look at it and see if we are ready to serve up a small portion of it. And I mean small portion because that steak actually was very, very filling. And I feel like if I have any more at the moment, I might get very tired. And we don't want to get too tired because it is only 5 to 11. And we've got many, many hours in front of us yet. Many miles to go before I sleep. Now, actually, if you look at it in terms of time completed, we've done 14 hours. So actually, we've done quite a